Join me today for another exciting episode of Spinning My Wheels. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. This is going to be a continuation of the series where I talk about various D&D monsters. At the moment we're in Undead creatures, and I've got a few other previous videos on the topic. Excuse me. So today, just briefly previously, I've mentioned one video covered higher level undead like vampires and liches, and kind of talked about like some of the differences between them, intelligent undead. And then I had others, one about zombies, one about ghouls, and some of the differences between the two. Still debating on making a video on skeletons because they're pretty straightforward, but I don't know, someone might be interested. And there's other low-level undead that we'll drift back to eventually. But today, we're going to be talking about the Devourer. Now, in my opinion, in older editions, specifically 3.5, and I'm assuming in the prior editions to 3.5, because over the arc of the game, monsters are becoming less and less horrific and less deadly. In 3.5, it was very explicit that the Devourer could in fact destroy your soul. As in, that's it. Resurrection is not going to bring you back. I don't have the older monster manual in front of me. I believe a wish spell could restore your soul, but I think it's like that or divine intervention, I believe. Whereas 5th edition, it talks about it kind of, but never spells it out, so I'm assuming that doesn't actually happen with 5th edition. Also in prior editions, there was a question mark as to where these things came from, because they were undead creatures, but there was no sign that they were ever mortal creatures that turned into undead like almost every other type of undead. Like zombies come from mortal beings. Skeletons used to be part of a living being. A vampire used to be a living being. A lich was a living thing. You occasionally get the weird wonky stuff of I think there's a vampiric demon that I think is considered an undead creature. And then, of course, you've got all kinds of weird undead stuff with Orcus, which we're going to come around to that here in just a second. So their origins were kind of a question mark. And they were very much a thing to be avoided. Because, no matter how much you might not care about your character, having a soul destroyed is kind of soul-crushing. So, yeah. So anyway, in 5th edition, however, we now have an origin. And in 5th edition, they have been created by Orcus. He takes lesser demons, presumably that are loyal to him, and that have done some service or whatever, and he transforms them from whatever form they were in to the 8-foot tall undead monsters. Then feeds them some less fortunate demon's soul, and sends them on their merry way into the multiverse to go wreak havoc. And a lot of them apparently remain in the lower planes, or maybe the elemental planes, with less of them going to the prime material plane. And those that go to the material plane are typically tasked with raising undead armies and, wreaking havoc. Because they in 5th edition, they do still do the whole, like, devour. Okay, they've got a big gaping chasm in their chest. In prior editions, they would suck out someone's soul and pull it into them. And here, if I'm reading this right, because, yes, I'm going to cheat. I've got everything up right here. It would appear, yeah, that it actually, like, brings the person's physical body inside of its cage and then starts draining its life force. Then once it is dead or near dead, yeah, once it's dead, it spits it out and it becomes an undead creature. 2 or fewer hit dice becomes a zombie. 3 to 5 becomes a ghoul. Otherwise, it becomes a wight. That's W-I-G-H-T. And haven't gone over wights yet. We'll get to those at some point here in this series. But yeah, so that's what it does. Now, to me, that tells me that the person can be resurrected. You know, it doesn't say that their soul's destroyed. It doesn't spell it out. Even though, like, the description kind of says it feeds on its soul, you know. So a resurrection spell should bring them back to life. And I'm sure there's other means too, especially since their body's still there. So you have that major difference. But other than that, like, they are just really tough undead creatures. Now they're CR 13. You know, they got a boatload of hit points, 189, and resistant to cold, fire, and lightning, immune to poison, immune to being poisoned, dark vision to 120 feet, telepathy to 120 feet, and, you know, they got multi-attacks, they got, you know, claws and all kinds of other fun stuff here. So the imprisoned soul is the Devourer chooses a living humanoid with 0 hit points that it can see within 30 feet, then does its thing and sucks it into its chest. Then it has a big, like, whammy attack. 20-foot radius, center on itself. Each creature in the area, DC 18 con throw or take a boatload of necrotic damage on a failed save. So, yeah, these are nasty things. Even without the soul-destroying thing, they can still just kill you. Like, just suck you in and eat away at your hit points unless you find a way out, and then spit you out as an undead creature to start attacking your former allies. Yeah, it's they're very not pleasant, but they do fall into the whole intelligent undead thing because presumably they control the undead that they spit out, and as they're wandering the countryside or what have you, any other, like, free-roaming lesser undead creatures like zombies and skeletons, ghouls, I'm assuming wights, are drawn to them. And so they can, if there's such things in the area, they can build up an army, and not just through the transformation of them sucking out the life force part. So, and that's usually, and that, like I said, that's their goal. That's what Orcus wants them to do. Create the undead horde and go and raise hell somewhere. So, you know, you fight the undead horde at a higher level, and you're thinking, oh man, why is the DM throwing a bunch of these low-level goober type creatures at us? There might be something really nasty at the center of that, just biding its time, letting those guys wear you down little by little through attrition, just waiting to spring at you. So if you're a player, not a DM, like, I won't be wary of that. If you're the DM, well, there's an idea for you. Given that they're tasked by Orcus and that they're not originally mortal, I would venture that they don't have any compelling reason to cooperate with, say, a lich or a vampire. It's not to say they couldn't, you know, because a vampire specifically could also get in on the whole, like, hey, let's create a bunch of undead stuff, and he'll, you know, create a bunch of vampire spawn. You know, so there's that going for them. But typically, liches they're not really driven by that. They might be more inclined to ally with a mortal necromancer, presumably to eventually double cross them. But, you know, that whole, hey, I'm going to raise an undead army too, let's combine forces thing, you know, I can see that being a plausible use for them. I mean, it's your game, do whatever, but I'm just saying from a psychology standpoint, you just have to keep in mind that these things were not mortal creatures to begin with. So, unlike a vampire or a lich or any other intelligent undead, there's no remnant of mortal goals or humanity or anything in there, because there was never anything to begin with. They were a demon. And demons are all about just chaotic destruction. So, that is the thing's ultimate goal. Just have to keep that in mind, you know, because while it can be a mastermind in a sense, it's probably not going to be like the far-reaching plot of, okay, well, if I bring these people back over here and send them to go do this, and I attack this guy and turn him into a thing, and I get these whites that are chilling in the graveyard over here into my cause, and maybe I can get them to turn some other people's into whites, and, you know, no, it's a lot more like, there's a village, there's a bunch of undead following me, let's go ransack the village. Whoever's in one piece, once it's all over, we're going to turn them into undead creatures. You know, and maybe not even that necessary one piece thing. So I'm imagining that's the extent of their planning. Again, could be wrong. It's your game, but would be a heck of a curveball to have one of those as the mastermind. But to me, the description reads that they're a lot more proactive. They're not afraid to get to the front line, and I don't know, with them being from a demon, I don't think that's going to matter if you destroy them, because normally if you destroy a demon on the material plane, they'll just reappear in the abyss. I don't think that would happen here, though, because they've been turned into an undead. They're no longer a demon. But again, that's, you know, something you can work with in your campaign. So, just some ideas and some thoughts floating around there. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this little series, and sorry about the hiatus because of the ongoing situation with the OGL and all that with D&D, which appears to have reached a stalemate. A possible victory all remains to be seen, but for the moment, appears a detente of sorts has been reached. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, hopefully you guys like this. If you would be so kind, we always appreciate the likes, the shares, the subscribes, all that fun stuff. But particularly the comments. We have definitely made videos based on people's comments, and we try to respond to all the comments. So we'll eventually get to some other creature type other than the undead. Just kind of trying to work my way through the big hits here, so to speak. And then we'll move on. I don't really want to mix the types at the moment because I want to try to stay kind of focused. But anyway, that may change in the future, though. Who knows? So thank you folks for watching, and have a good one.